Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at a Jackson guitar. This guitar is part of the JS series. Specifically, this is a JS11 Dinky. This guitar is one of my guitars. I picked this guitar up, I guess, about a year ago. It was in really good shape. It's got the two humbuckers. It's got a poplar body, bolt-on maple neck. Got a 12-inch radius on the fretboard. The fretboard material is amaranth, and it's got a metallic blue finish. We've got the 2-point trem system here. The guy I bought it from did not have the trem bar, so I'm hoping to get a replacement for that at some point. As you can see, all the hardware here is black, which is kind of a nice touch with the metallic blue finish on it. And basic one volume, one tone. We got a 3-way switch for the pickup selectors. And today what we're going to be doing is just a quick string change. And I'm going to do a setup on the guitar. I thought I'd record this one because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing the string gauge to a heavier gauge string because I want to use this guitar in D standard tuning. So that means from standard tuning, we're going to be tuning every single string down one step from standard. So that will, cause the strings to be a little looser. There won't be as much slack, or there'll be more slack on the strings. So we're going to use a heavier gauge string to compensate for that difference. And I've used these strings before on D standard tunings, and they seem to work pretty good. These are Diodarios, and the string gauge is the 11 to 52. Show you the box here. These ones here. So that's what we'll be putting on there. Right now, on that guitar, I've got a set of the Diodario XLs. They're a mix set. They go from 9 to 46, so they got the lighter, higher strings and the regular gauge bottom strings. So sort of a hybrid set. But I haven't really been playing this guitar a whole lot, so I thought I would swap out the strings, switch it to D standard. There are a couple of songs I like to play that are in D standard, so I figured I'll kind of dedicate this guitar to that. So when we change those strings to those heavier gauges, we're going to need to make adjustments to the truss rod and the string height. We're also going to have to adjust the springs in the back here, and I'll show you this when I get the cover off, because we're going to have to alter the tension onto the bridge here. So yeah, just thought I'd give you a quick overview before we get started. Just take off some of the tension on those strings before I cut them. So I'm just going to snip the strings off about halfway down. I have two Jackson guitars. One of the other ones I haven't shown in a video yet, but I will at some point in the future because that guitar will need a string change fairly soon. So I'll do another video on that one. But this is a really nice guitar. I like Jackson guitars a lot. I played a few. I own two, and I think they're really awesome. Actually, I like their necks. I like the way they feel. Pretty quality instrument. This is more of their like an entry level Jackson. But when I saw it, I really like the blue finish. It's the only blue guitar that I own. So that's kind of cool. And the black hardware looks pretty slick. Let's just get these strings off here. The back plates on this guitar still have the plastic wrap on them. I guess the guy who owned it before never took it off, which is fine. I mean, it helps protect it a little bit. And being that it's on the back here, like you can see some of the scratch marks, that's mostly the plastic. So I'm just going to leave it on for now. I mean, not hurting anything. Okay. So let me zoom in a little bit closer here while we got the cover off. So you can see we've got a nice thick tone block back here, which is nice. When I changed the strings initially on this guitar last time, I reconfigured the springs in this straight up and down motion. Here, sometimes you'll see them in kind of like a triangle shape. I kind of think this is a more like correct way to do it as far as the amount of tension on the springs. Um, some people prefer it the other way. I'm not gonna tell you which way is right or wrong because everyone seems to have a preference. But I like it this way. It makes more sense logically in my mind to have the springs this way. Since we're looking at the bridge here, I'll point out something else. When I first got this guitar, let me just zoom in a little closer here. You can see there's a little kind of a blemish right around the post right here. What was happening there was this post was starting to lift out of the body, and it lifted out so much that it started to crack the finish here. Now, luckily, a lot of it is hidden underneath the bridge plate, but as you can see, there's still a little bit of the finish had come off. Now, part of that was from when I repaired that area. I had to do a little wet sanding in here to help smooth the area out, and I just used a little CA glue just to prevent this from getting any worse. And I cleaned up that hole a bit, and I was able to reuse all the existing hardware, and it's been fine ever since. Now, this particular guitar, since I don't have the trem arm for it, I just hardtailed the bridge to the body, or decked it as they call it. Eventually, we'll get a bar for that at some point, but I want to try and find a black one, and I need to see for sure if that is a threaded type of rod that goes in there, or bar. I'm sorry, or if that's a push-in bar. From what I can see, it looks like it might be a push-in bar, but once I'll take the tone block out and take a closer look at it. I'll show you that when I get to that point. But other than this, and there's a few little scratchy marks on the body, which I took out a lot when I polished it up last time. But there's still a bit there. But I mean, you really can't see it unless you really have to look in the right light to notice it. But the body's in really nice shape overall. Like, I don't even know if that's showing up on the camera right around here. There's some scratches, and same with over here. But that's likely from, maybe the guy had a watch on when he was playing or something, the previous owner, but it doesn't matter. It's got a really nice shine on it still, so it's in really nice shape. And since we've got the strings off, I did the frets and the fretboard about a year ago, and I haven't played this guitar a whole lot, so I think all I'm going to do is I'll just quickly clean up the fretboard. I'm not even sure if I'm going to oil it because it was done. I guess it was done about a year ago. I'd have to check my notes. But anyway, it's yeah. You know what? I think I'll just clean it. I don't think the fretboard needs another conditioning treatment because it's been stored in the case, and like I said, I haven't played it a whole lot. The wood feels pretty decent. It just looks a little dirty. That's all. So I'll clean it up, and if it needs another oiling, I'll give it a light oiling just while the strings are off because this is the time to do that kind of stuff when you get all the strings off at once. And the frets are in good shape. These are jumbo frets on this guitar, and I recrowned them last time, and I think I did a fret level job. It's been a while. I'd have to check my notes, but either way, the frets are in really good shape. The fret ends are fine. There's no work that really needs to be done there. So I think I might just give them a light polishing with some fret erasers, just to clean them all up while the strings are off. And I'm just going to take the springs off. I have to loosen that post off there. Just taking a look inside the slot where the trem arm would go. Yeah, here, I'll show you. So on the side of the block here, you can see there's a little grub screw. So that's what's going to hold the trem arm in place. I'm not sure if this will come through on the camera. You can see inside there. You can't see all the way because of the angle and the light, but I don't see any threads in there. So I'm assuming this is the type of trem arm that you pop into place, and it probably sort of locks in there, or you use this little grub screw to lock it in place, or some kind of combination of the two. I'll have to look into that. I'm not really 100% sure how that arm would stay in there. I'll have to look into that. But once I do, I'll let you know what we're going to do. But for right now, since I don't have the arm, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to deck it down to the body like it was before. And you can see, going back to that finish repair I mentioned earlier, you can see a little bit more of the blemish here. I don't know if that's showing up on camera a little bit, but a lot of it's hidden by the bridge itself, the bridge plate itself. Yeah, there's not much you can do about that. I mean, it's hard to match this color with anything else, right? Like, you're not going to find a Sharpie that's going to be this color that you can kind of hide that with. But you know what, it is what it is. I mean, that's probably as good as I could make it. You could try maybe doing some more polishing and buffing in here, but this area is raised up a little bit from the damage, and I didn't want to risk chipping out that whole piece, because you can kind of see in here where I'm pointing, this whole piece is sort of lifted up. And I was a little concerned with, if I went too heavy on the wet sanding and the polishing, I might burn right through my repair, and I might start lifting up pieces of that finish. And once that happens, it's kind of, that's it. There's nothing you can do. You can try and glue it back in place, but I think for what I did, for what I'm using it for, it's more than fine. This is just to prevent it from getting any worse. So, while the bridge is off, it's pretty clean, actually. I think I might just give it a quick dusting and wipe it down. There's really no dirt or anything. I gave it a really good cleaning when I first got it. When I got the guitar, it was pretty dirty, but it was a used guitar, so they're usually pretty dirty to begin with. But yeah, it's got a nice heavy big tone block in it, so it's got some weight to it. So that's cool. And I ended up I cleaned the fretboard, but I ended up giving it just a very light oiling as well. I figured might as well. It's off, and now's the time to do it. So that's it there. It's finished. I didn't record it, but I've done it in other videos. I just cleaned it with the Dunlop F1, I'm sorry, Fretboard 01 oil, or sorry, that's the cleaner. And then I use the Music Nomad F1 oil to condition the fretboard. But I used just a little bit, just enough to spread it around, let it sit for a bit, and then just wiped off the excess. So, and I'll give it another wipe down later on. Yeah, I think I'm just going to lightly polish those frets too. But this video is more about the string change in the setup, so I'm not going to record any of that. And it'll just be a quick polish anyway, so there's not much to see. So let me stop the video, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm just getting ready to put the springs back onto the trem block. I've got this first one in already. What I normally will do is I'll back these springs off. I'm sorry, these screws. That'll loosen the claw back a bit and make it a little easier to get these springs back on. You can usually get them on by hand. I like to put the block end in first and then just stretch them up to the claw, just like that. Makes it a little easier to get everything back to where it's got to go. Just make sure everything's in there securely, and we'll tighten these up later. Just want to put a little bit of tension on there just to hold the bridge in place. So let me flip the guitar over now. So I've got these screws here, or these posts. Here, let me move the camera. These two posts here, I've got them backed off a little bit just to give me a little room to move the bridge around a bit. But we'll get that squared away later. I'm going to put the new strings in now. I like to do them all at once. And so I like to sort of hang the back of the guitar off the side of the bench. Then I can drop all the strings through and at the same time. I find it makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so now that we've got the strings through the trem block, I'll start stringing up the guitar. I won't show you every string. Maybe I'll just show you the first string here. So using the low E string as an example, feed it through the hole. And what I like to do is I like to take it, and this is a good rule of thumb, is to take it about 2 tuner lengths past where you're going. So in this case, we're going to be measuring to this tuner post here, and just, approximately that distance. So this distance here. Then pull the string back to the tuner, like watch where my thumb is, my left thumb. Pull it back to the tuner, and I put a little kink in it like so. Okay. So just to show you. And what that's going to do is give us enough string around the peg to keep it nice and snug and secure without excessive amount of wraps, because you don't want too many wraps on these posts here. So I'm going to just use the, oh, you know what? I'll do it by hand so you can see. I'm just going to use my my string winder here. You see that? This guy. Okay, I just wanted to move the camera and get a better angle of what I'm doing here. So, like I said a second ago, we got the kink in our string here, so we're just going to pull it back so it sits right there. And then we're going to start tightening the string. And you're going to hold the string with my right hand, my finger. And as I'm tightening, you want this string I'm holding with my right hand to go over top of the tail of the string, like so. And just keep winding. And then just pull that tail of the string up like so. So just to keep it out of your way. And just keep winding and keep the tension with your right hand. And just keep winding. And as you come around on your second wrap, we're going to go underneath that tail that's coming out of the hole. Okay, so what we've got is a wrap above and a wrap below the string. And as you can see right there, it's pinched between the two wraps. Okay, so we still got a little more tightening to do. So let's just get her tightened up. And I'm just keeping the tension with my right hand just to keep the string taut. I just noticed the nut. I guess the glue gave away that was holding it in place there. I don't know if you saw that on screen. It's no big deal. Let me just move the camera so you can see. As I was tightening the string up, this nut, you can see it must have just come loose. The glue, I guess, must have gave way or something. I don't know what happened there, but no big deal. I mean, I'll put a little glue on there to hold it. I was thinking, like, this is a plastic nut, so I was going to replace it at some point, but for right now, I'm just going to reuse it because I may have to widen these nut slots a little bit to accommodate the thicker string. But I'll deal with that later if I have to, because these strings are a thicker gauge than what was on there and what came from the factory. This guitar came with 9s on it, 9 to 42 strings. So we're moving up a couple of gauges, and that's where you may have to do some nut slot filing, but worry about that after. For right now, I'll just finish what I'm showing you here, just to finish the tutorial on the string. I'm going to have to hold that in place with my hand, but we're almost done. So I'm just going to keep tightening. Oh, you know what? That's not going to work. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to have to glue that nut back in place before we can go any further here. So let me just, well, I guess I can show you that while I'm doing this. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to just have to lightly sand this area in here, right here, just to remove some of the glue residue. So I got a nice flat surface to glue the nut back into place with. And I'll probably have to do the same on the nut. You can see there's some glue stuck on there. And that's normal. Like they usually put a little bit of glue just to hold it from moving. But I guess it just gave out. So okay, so let me stop the video. I'm gonna have to grab a couple more things to do that. Okay, so all I've got here is just a piece of 400 grit sandpaper that's got an adhesive backing on it, and I just got these recipe cards. I just stuck the adhesive on there. I just didn't want to get that adhesive on my work mat here. So all I'm going to do is just take the nut with the residue side and just going to sand it lightly on this piece of sandpaper just to remove any glue and any little unevenness, any burrs. A little bit there still. Okay, I don't want to take too much off because we're just getting the we're just making it smooth and give the glue a nice surface to adhere to. Now they do make special files to get in here and actually file and do all that stuff, make sure. But I don't have anything like that. But I don't really need it in this case. I'm doing the same thing I just did on the net. I'm just removing some of that glue residue that's on there. So what I do have are these small little files. These things. I got a little kit off Amazon a while back, and they're a diamond coat, and they're just the cheap files, but they get the job done. I think I'm gonna have to take this string off. Just give me a second here. Okay, just to get it out of the way. And all I'm going to do is this file is kind of like the perfect size for getting right in here. And I'm just going to lightly sand that area. And because it's we're just getting those lumps off. We don't have to take off really any material, any wood. Don't want to. And I'm going to do the same on this side because it looks like they put a little glue on both sides. Just going to move my light over here. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so I'm just going to use a little bit of wood glue. Um, you can use CA glue if you want, but like I said earlier, I may be changing this nut out at some point in the future, so I don't want it to be a real pain to get off again. So by using wood glue, it'll hold it in place enough for us to, use it, and it shouldn't pop off like it did before. But it does happen. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's an easy enough repair. Just grab a toothpick. So we're just going to use a little dab of glue. I'll just back you out here a little bit. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the wood glue. This is just any wood glue you can get, from any hardware store. Just going to put a little blob on the paper here. So I'm just going to take my toothpick and just kind of roll it around on the glue here. Just get a little bit on the toothpick. You don't need a lot. And I'm just going to put a little blob there. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And then another little blob there. Yep. And I'm going to put a little bit on the back side as well. Okay, yeah, that should be enough to hold everything in place. Just clean off the nut and just place it back where it was. And, this is obviously the same nut, so I'm not going to worry about the spacing. Everything's going to be the same. I just got to make sure I put it on nice and evenly. Looks perfect right there. And just check the sides. The sides right here, make sure it's not hanging over one side too much. Because if it dries in the wrong spot, you're just going to have to break it loose again and redo it. So that's it. That's what we have to do here. I'm going to have to let that dry and cure up, so I won't be able to finish the string replacement at the moment. So I'll just stop the video, let it sit. Probably just let it sit overnight and come back tomorrow and finish the restringing. So I guess that'll do it for today. And yeah, I'll come back and we'll finish this up tomorrow. Okay, so we're back after I've glued the nut back into place. Let it sit overnight. and then I put the first 5 strings on. I did this off camera. I'm going to show you the way I like to wrap my strings around the tuning peg. I'll just show you on the low E strings, a little easier to see on the camera here. So as you recall, or you may recall from the previous section of the video, I started to tighten the string around the peg, and that's when the nut had popped off. So this string's got some weird kinks and bends in it, but it should be fine. I mean, there's no sharp 90 degrees or anything like sharp bends in the string. So it should be fine. I don't think it'll break or anything, but we'll just have to try it out and see if it's okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's a pretty thick string. So what I like to do is pass the string through the hole in the tuner, run it about 2 tuner lengths past where you're working from. So in this case, we're working on the low E string. We're going to pull the string to about where the D string would be, or the D tuner, I'm sorry. So where my left thumb is right here. It's about 2 tuner lengths. You can go a little more if you want. So we'll just keep it there with your left thumb. And then I pull the string back to the tuner right there. And that's where I like to put a little bend in the string just to hold everything in place. Now you can start winding at this point. Another little trick you can try is just to loop the string around like this. Okay, and you're doing the same thing. It's just a little easier. Lift the tail of the string, point it up to the sky. Grab your tuner, your winder. You can do this by hand, and just start tightening up the string. And go around for one full wrap. So as you can see, as we come around right here, we've got a wrap above and a wrap below where the tail is coming out of the hole. And what that's going to do is that's going to like pinch that little tail in between the 2 wraps and keep it nice and tight. So just keep wrapping. And you should get 2 to 3 wraps on your post, no more than that. Any more than that is unnecessary. There we go. So you can see it likes to sit right about there, and that's fine. We're not up to pitch yet, but we'll do that after. And that's how I like to tune my strings. And if you look at the remaining strings, I'll just zoom you in a bit here so you can see. They all have about the same amount of wraps. So we've got, in this case, on the A string, we've got 1 above and 2 below. The D string, we've got 1 wrap above, 2 below. The low E string, you can't see it because it's on the other side. But we've got 1 above, 1 below, and the third just starting on that low E string. So that's fine for the low E string. And I've got a few more wraps on the higher strings, the G, the B, and the E strings. And I just like to maybe go 2.5 tuner lengths past where I'm working from. And again, just approximations, because these strings are thinner, you can get more wraps on the post. And I like to put a few more on these ones. Just I think it adds a little tuning stability. I could probably got 1 too many on the G string, but it's fine. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to tune it up to pitch and kind of get an idea of where we're sitting as far as neck relief and string height. So let me just stop the video. Okay, so I've got the guitar tuned up to pitch. And as a reminder, we're using, this guitar will be using D standard tuning. So I've got the strings tuned up, I've stretched them a little bit, and I've got everything ready to go for the setup now. I haven't taken any measurements yet. The only thing I did off camera was I just tightened down these 2 bridge posts here. Normally the bridge would either float or pivot on these 2 points right here, these 2 pivot points. Since I'm not using a trem bar in this guitar, not at this time anyway, I just tighten these down all the way. And that way, the bridge is going to be decked or hard-tailed, as I like to call it, to the body. We'll adjust the springs on the rear of the guitar to make sure everything's nicely balanced. But I just wanted to lock those down. Thought I'd show you before we move forward with the rest of the setup. So now that we've got that done, first thing I'm going to do is I just want to make sure we've got the right amount of tension on this neck, and we might have to make some small adjustments to the springs on the back. So what I'm going to do, I might have to move the camera to show you this better, but I'm just going to like do this on the strings, like bend the strings to see if I see any movement back here at the bridge, at the tailpiece here. Ideally, for the way I'm going to set this guitar up, I don't want to see any movement here. I want this thing to be locked down as best as I can. Now, what you could do is you could just tighten these screws here down all the way, but it's not necessary to jam them all the way into the body. We're probably pretty close the way they're sitting right now, but let's just take a quick look here. I'll zoom you in. This is similar to what I showed on the Washburn video with the Washburn Sonamaster guitar, because I'm setting this bridge up pretty much the same way. It's a similar style bridge. So what I'm trying to do is I want to check for movement down here as I'm bending the string. So I'm just going to just bend like the D string up and down, and the G string. No, I'm not seeing any movement at all there. So that's probably pretty good. So if I saw this bridge moving, and I mean it's going to move like tiny amounts as I'm bending, let's just say the G string, what I'd need to do is flip the guitar and tighten up these springs on the claw here. I'm sorry, the screws on the claw here, these two, which will tighten up the spring tension here to pull this tone block more this way. We don't really need to do that in this case because it's already sitting where it likes to sit. There's no movement happening when I bend the strings. So I'll check that a little later, because this may change as far as the string tension goes, because the strings, I did stretch them a bit, but they're going to stretch a bit more before we're done. But for right now, I think we're good. I'm not seeing any movement at all when I move those strings around. And that's what I want. So, okay, that's good for that. So next step will be take a look at the neck relief. So let me just reposition the camera here. Okay, so I've got my capo on the first fret here. I'm going to be holding my low E string down at the 17th fret and taking my measurements at the 7th and 8th fret. And I'm just checking the neck relief right now. I'm going to aim for around 10 or 11 thousandths of an inch. So I got my 11 thousandths of an inch feeler gauge. I'm going to check that right now. So yeah, that's about 11 right on the nose there. Yeah, I'd say that's about 10. My 10 thousandths of an inch gauge is going in there perfectly. So yeah, I didn't have to make any adjustments at all right there. So that's handy. That may change though, because these are new strings and they are a heavier gauge. So I normally like to make all my setup adjustments and then let the guitar sit, at least for a couple hours. Probably I'll just let it sit overnight because it's my own guitar. I don't have to get it back to anyone. So let's move on with the setup. The next thing I'm going to do is check the string height. And I'm going to check that at the 17th fret. I'm just going to use my string action ruler. And I'm going to be aiming for around 4/64 at the 17th fret. And I've got about 4.5 there. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Huh. Well, that was easy. Okay, so again, that may change. I'm not going to make any adjustments to that at all. Not at this moment anyway. What I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to swing the guitar around so I can get a better look. I just want to make sure that the saddles are all nice and level, because sometimes they get a little wonky when you're changing the strings. So let me just take a look at that. So those are all fine. I just tweaked the high E string just a little bit on one side. It was just a little bit lopsided. I'm going to recheck all these measurements again. Well, I was kind of surprised. I thought I'd have to make more of an adjustment. I'm thinking once the guitar settles a bit with these new strings and this heavier gauge, we'll need to do a little tweaking. I'm not going to do the intonation yet because I do expect this to change a little bit by tomorrow. So that being said, there's not much more to do at this point on the guitar. Um, I'll stretch the strings again, retune it, and probably just stop the video and come back tomorrow, and we'll recheck those measurements and see how much things have changed. So I guess that'll do it for right now.